All right, gang, here we go. We're going to do some basic Photoshop layering here with a little bit of layer masking. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to drag both of your images onto these icons down here at the bottom. Your Photoshop icon is going to open them up, remembering that each image is going to be in its own separate layer. All right, now there's a couple of different ways to get these pictures together, but one way we're going to do it is we are going to, select the baseball, and I want to copy the baseball onto the mountain. So I'm going to click on the baseball. I'm going to right click or control click on the gray part of the layer here. I'm going to duplicate the layer. And here I'm going to make sure instead of just copying it on top of the baseball so it's the same document, I'm going to find that mountain. I'm going to say select mountain as my destination. I'm going to say OK. There we go. So now if I go to my mountain and I look here, I'll see that the baseball has become another layer on top of that mountain. Right? Just like in Illustrator, these layers are, we can change the order of them once we get multiple layers, and the layer that is on the top is actually the layer that is in the front. So that's super easy, right? So the next thing we got to do is we need to scale this and move this around to where we want it. So I'm going to use the moving tool right here, and I'm going to make sure that my show transform controls box is clicked up here. Then I can zoom out if I want to. Remember, Command minus is zoom out. Hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and shrink that baseball down, right? And then I'm going to grab it over here. I'm going to move it up so that it's the size of the moon here. I'm going to make the baseball moon happening here. Once I get it the size I want it to, I'm going to hit the check mark right up here. Don't forget also I can rotate this shape if I want to out here by grabbing the outside. Also this little guy here in the center, I mentioned this. This is the center point. This is not moving, but if you move this out here and then you rotate, it rotates around that center point right there. All right, I'm going to say no changes there. I'm going to rotate the baseball a little bit just so it's, I don't know, like that. Say OK. All right, so there you go. So this is really as easy as it is to combine those images. But now the problem is obviously we have all this extra stuff on the outside of our image that we want to get rid of. So the easiest thing to do is to erase that. But once you erase it, it is gone forever. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something called the layer mask, which is a little bit like the clipping mask that we did in Illustrator, where the work is still there, but it just becomes invisible. All right, so to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to Command plus space bar, hold down, bring it down here, and I'm going to get rid of this on the outside. So here is my background. Here's my baseball. What I need to do is click on the layer mask down here. So it's not the black and white cookie, but it's the one next door. It's this one here that's a little white rectangle with a black dot. I'm going to click on it, and you can see that it made a little layer mask next to the picture. Now, it is important to note that I can select the picture, and I can select the layer mask. See the way it jumps in between here, and I can select this down here and up here. I need to make sure that I've selected the layer mask for this to work. Otherwise, I'm just going to draw black all over my image. It's going to look terrible. So I've chosen a layer mask. I'm going to choose my paintbrush, which is right here. I'm going to come down here, and I can see here already I can flip-flop these two colors. If I don't see black and white where I want it, I can click this little guy, which is black and white, flip it over. I'm going to use my paintbrush up here, like in Illustrator as well. I can adjust the size of my paintbrush up here. I can adjust my paintbrush if I want a hard edge on it, or if I want a fuzzy edge on it. I'm going to use a moderately hard edge here. And then I'm going to start to paint, make sure my opacity is turned up to 100%. And I'm going to paint this background away. All right, if I want my brush to be a little bigger, I can go up here and change the size of my brush, or I can just use the bracket keys next to the letter P, and I can make that brush bigger, and I can start to paint this out. If I make a mistake, let's say I'm painting here very carefully, and somebody comes into the room and makes you cut out some of this you don't want to cut out, you just flip-flop to white, and white makes that come back just like so. All right, so it's just like a window. Remember, it's almost like painting black spray paint in that window, where you paint black over it, you're not going to be able to see anything. And when you paint white, is like cleaning that black off of the window, and you'll be able to see through that window again. So anything that you're painting black right here is going to disappear. And then the better job you do painting that outside edge out of there, the more realistic it's going to look when you sharpen it, right? So that's a pretty good job around the outside of that baseball like that. But what I can do is I can go up to my layer mask up here, and I can double click on it. And that's going to take me into this layer masking properties here. And what I can actually do is if I look here, that's what my layer mask looks like right now. I can adjust this layer mask here if I want to shift the edge of my layer mask. So let's go to onion skin and watch what happens when I bring it in a little bit tighter. See the way it's bringing it in around the outside of the baseball like that? Or if I go the outside, it expands it, so I can bring it in a little tighter. I can also smooth the outside edge of my baseball a little bit. I mean, obviously this part down here needs a little bit of help. I can feather the edge, which softens the edge of the transition. And the contrast also helps to define that edge if it's a little bit fuzzy or a little bit bumpy on the outside edge. Hit OK. Once I do that, I can always go back with my black and white here, and I can bring this back a little bit more. That's the great thing, again, about using layer masks instead of using erasers. So erasers are destructive and layer masks are a little bit more flexible. There you go. And then I'm going to say Control minus to zoom out. And then there you have it. So you have your specific layers. You can add as many layers as you want to. You can move this thing around here. The layer mask will move with it. And you can adjust it. And then remember, as always, when you go to save, if I say save as, if I save this file as a Photoshop document here, it will save all my layers so I can go back and re-edit it later. Or if I go down to JPEG down here and I save it, it will save it as a flat image that I can no longer edit, but it will be a smaller file. All right, good luck, enjoy.